Smell that? Not only does that smell like DoorDash I just got for dinner, but it also smells like another beautiful week of the DoorDash LCO. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have some banger games coming up this evening. We had some banger games last week as well, but there's no more Super Week, so a little bit disappointed about that. I did enjoy the cosplay on Friday, but look, at least today we'll have some fresh faces on the desk, you know, the ones that weren't painted, or maybe they weren't, who knows, maybe Dr. Mundo was actually on the desk. Anyway, let's have a quick look back at what happened last week on Friday before we jump into today's action.
Oh, there's the hook. Safa's just gone. It's a nice little bit of HP regen coming back at him, but it's just not enough. The Gore Drinker cannot protect him this time.
They can't
Stagger Death Time is floppy against the world. They can't end. They've taken one turret and a flash arrow.
There's no jungler. They can't get this. Oh, wait, Kyosa has smites.
Oh! He jumps out. He's forced to flash away. There's the stopwatch thumbs up because this could be Legacy doing it on their doorstep. Shinky comes in with the ultimate. Nectar jumps him forward. Nectar's very strong. Procs the exhaust straight away onto Kevy. The battle of the two carries do whatever they can. Way goes with a death mark, but he falls to his own death regardless. Nectar jumps in. Shockwave takes him out. Puma on the flank. 1v1 against Goodo. And Chungy flashing forward to lock him in place. That was the trade for the Baron, so would have picked that one up on respawn. Kevy dashing across, looking for some of that armor. Oh. Ultimate is very close, but it does find it. The revival brings them back to life at 50%. One bomb goes out. They can't stack it with a double bomb as Kisei jumps in, still not stunned. Gets in, gets out, receives the knock up there from Baba, but he falls on down all the same. It is a trade, but when Chiefs come together, they find more.
Oh,
and it might not even be done just yet. They found even further. Last Crest is actually just out of range. Exhaust was there anyway, so the execution. As Lift is flirting with danger, both the Invis duo doing whatever they can to jump in, jump out, find aggro, find success, and find two more.
What a bloody day of games that was. Couple of upsets as always, so very exciting gameplay, and I dare say we're going to have a little bit more of that today. Now, before I bring in the others, while I'm on this single, you guys think I need a haircut? I'm looking. It's pretty long. I actually feel like I definitely need a haircut. If you guys gift 500 subs to the LCO channel, I'll do the haircut live. This broadcast with my face trimmers. I don't know how that's going to go, but that's a lot of subs. Anyway, we've got a lot of talent to bring on the desk as well, so let's see how this goes. We've got Jordan and Rusty, also known as Zach, also known as Mr. Didn't know he got gift like the rest of us today until not long ago. So that was pretty unfortunate. You didn't get tagged in that, Rusty. Do you want to talk about it?
No, not really, man, because I didn't see it. So there's not a lot to talk about, is there, until someone else, you tagged me in that one. And also, we can't sub to the LCO channel, I think, Max. So I don't know how you're going to negotiate that one.
Well, maybe it's a scam. I'm a scam. My thing was a scam. My deal was a scam. Are you feeling funky? I'm feeling groovy with this music. We got new tunes here. Jordan, are you feeling hungry, by the way?
I mean, I'm a little bit peckish. I could go for a snack if you're offering.
You could. Well, I have something that may favor you. I don't think you're allowed to do it because obviously you're part of the broadcast. But if you guys at home feel hungry at all tonight, you know, there are going to be a couple of DoorDash codes trickled into chat here and there. So keep your bloody eyes out and make sure you tune in to make sure you pick up one of those discount codes. Now, that brings us that little bit closer towards the game. So let's have a quick look at the standings and see where all the teams were sitting at the end of Friday. Yes, the scoreboard is still a couple of ties there, down at 5th and down in 2nd. So, I don't know, you guys weren't here on Friday. Rusty, tell me, what are your thoughts on this standings, how they currently are?
I think we are starting to find some actual stability, barring the movements of Peace constantly. Ultimately, if you look at the top 5 right now, this is your playoffs from Split 1. I think that's important to keep in mind. But Legacy are clearly making a big push, and Peace are on the decline. And I think one of the more interesting things here as well, Mac, is that I don't know if I ever expected Gravitas to be in 7th with the amount of wins that we've seen them pick up. But that's just how close this whole league has started to feel.
Yeah, there's what, like 5 wins between the top and the bottom at the moment. So there is 6 days of games left, which means that there is still a chance that they could go all the way into 1st. Maybe not after today, after some of these things happen, but I guess we'll see once we get there. Anyway, Jordan, did you see anything that kept it spicy for you on the standings?
Yeah, I mean, obviously where Peace is sitting at the moment is still a bit of a question mark, and obviously they've been having some struggles and trying to sort of integrate that new roster. So I am quite interested to see what they're going to be able to do over the next few weeks or so. But by and large, I feel like that's kind of the main storyline. It's like whether or not it's going to be Peace or Legacy that make it into playoffs. And then aside from that, really the order of the other 4 teams that do make it through.
I was doing that as well.
Yeah, it's so groovy. I don't know how you don't do it. You know, you got your cat jams, your rat jams, and I believe there's even a Mac jam in chat now. So if you want to drop those, feel free. I've already seen a few people using it, so enjoy that. We can get you guys some jams as well if you actually dance on the broadcast with me. Rusty, look, do it right now. Okay, well, there's the no gift. What about you, Jordan?
What do you want me to do?
Dance.
Dance?
Oh, absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, the finger guns were beautiful. That was from Nat down on the side lanes. But let's have a look at what games we are going to be watching this afternoon, this evening, this night, depending on where you're watching from the world, this day even. So 6 p.m. you got Penta and Peace going head-to-head to kick things off. 7 p.m. Gravitas and Direwolves could go either way, unless Direwolves play out of their minds like they have been recently. Chiefs and Mammoth, let's keep our eyes on that one, just in case Chiefs don't find that form, which they've had all split so far. 9 p.m. Order and Legacy about to go head-to-head too, and that... Yes, Order have been looking pretty damn good with their team comps and the ways that they play, but Legacy, they are one of those teams that can really just pull wins out of nowhere. So, I guess, Rusty, which one's your game of the day?
For me, I'm looking at Game 2 and 4. I think that Game 2 has potential, but given the trajectory of Gravitas lately, it's hard to say that with absolute certainty. But Direwolves a little bit up in the air themselves, right? So there's a lot of potential in that second game. And definitely Order versus Legacy of both teams having their 3-0 Super Weeks last week, right?
Yeah.
Lots on the line, I would say, coming into this one. Legacy fighting to get as high as they can and maybe make playoffs and climb that ladder, and Order fighting to get up near Pentanet in first.
Sounds very, very good indeed. Now, what about you, Jordan? What's your take on the games from this evening?
Yeah, I think I probably agree with Order and Legacy as the shout for tonight. I think starting to look towards Legacy as one of those teams that's really making a strong run in for the playoffs. Obviously, Pentanet and Peace will also be one that we would like to keep an eye on, but at the moment that almost sort of feels like it's a foregone conclusion in the favor of Pentanet. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but, you know, given how close Peace is to potentially not making playoffs, I still think it's a very important game for us to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's just like that third grand final rematch, but this time you've got Pentanet playing so damn well, and Peace have been struggling a little bit, so it's just like, is it going to be one-sided? I guess we'll figure it out once we get there. Now, let's have a look at Rusty's rants, Rusty's rambles, Rambling Rusty's.
Ramblings. We'll go with ramblings today. It's not a rant yet. That's the thing. So we're most of the way to a rant, but we're not there. So we're going to be kind. The 4 champions on here for very different reasons, actually. So Leona at the moment in the LCO, since we've patched to 11.14, is 7-0. So the fact that we haven't seen 100% pick ban for Leona does actually stick out to me. And I was looking at the people, the players that were handling this Leona, and there was still a wide spread of players in regards to like standings and results. But every time there's been a Leona, there's been a victory. It speaks for itself, and it's probably something I'd expect to see a little bit more of coming into this week, considering we're on the same patch and they've had a week of sample size with it. Thresh is an interesting one. The reason that I put Thresh here is because his win rate since 11.14 has come across is a lot higher. And it, originally, remember, we had like a 15% win rate champion that Thresh was. So I thought maybe it's cursed, maybe we're doomed. It's bounced back. But my question is it actually Thresh that is getting those wins? Or is it everyone finally picking Aphelios with the Thresh and having a winning duo in bot lane? Because to me, I think that the Aphelios is probably the most important part of that. And Thresh is enabling Aphelios to get a lot more of those Ws, which is what we've been seeing. Braum is on here for a very different reason to Leona. So Leona may be 7-0 with a 100% win rate. Braum is 0-4 with a 0% win rate. And we've seen it almost every single time blind picked and almost every single time countered by a Zillion from Direwolves, by a Leona from Pentanet. There is always champions that handle this, and the big point that I want to make here is you're all towing the line for a rant with this pick in particular. If I see another blind Braum, there could be trouble, all right? I don't want any more blind Braum, and I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm a support main. I know there's a couple of support mains in the LCO and the broadcast, and I'm sure we all know that blind picking Braum is bad, so it's crazy that we're seeing it in the professional league and obviously not working because it's being counted. Rise is the last one on this list, and it's their only non-support, so, you know, wow, I'm support main, that's what you get. Rise has a 95% pick ban rate in the LCK in the latest patch, and I think we have one player in the LCO that's avidly picking that, and that's Shock. And Direwolves have been on an upward trend. So I think that he has a pretty good read of the champions that he wants to play globally. I know Shock's an avid fan of the LCK. And I think that he's really the only one that's on board, and I think more players should be considering this Rise, because it's to the point in the LCK now where they're almost just blind picking it all the time. Like, it is so good, and I think we should see more of it.
Ah, well, there you have it. And I loved the damn ramble, so I hope we get more of that. Although I don't think we will this week. We'll have to see you next week after today, of course. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But before we get into the discussion about the game, I just need to ask you two. Rusty, you go first. How many champs do you know starting with N?
Nocturne.
None. Nasus, Nocturne, Nami, Nautilus.
Nami.
Nunu.
Nunu, yeah.
Nunu. Yeah?
The player Nectar.
Yeah, I actually thought that as
Doesn't
well.
count.
That's weird. Eh?
There's two you've
The
missed.
region Noxus.
There's two we've missed.
You've missed two. No, you missed.
Oh, Nidalee.
They didn't
Nidalee.
say
Nidalee's
Nidalee.
a good one. That was from Nat.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nat.
Thanks, Nat, from the sidelines. Now there's one more. It's a little nymphy thing.
Is it called
A
No Idea?
Yordle?
Because that's what I'm
It's a
thinking.
mid laner.
Do you mean a Yordle?
No.
A little
Nymphy
nymphy
thing.
thing. Nico.
Yes.
It's Nico. Yeah.
Am I right? That's a
chameleon.
little. Is it?
It's not really an. I mean, I guess.
I don't know. I'm just looking at it like from the outside. Anyway, you guys got all of them. Let's see how all the pros did.
I had a lot of time and I only thought of one. Nocturne and Nido Queen. Maybe Nido King as well. That was Nunu. Nunu. Nunu and Willump. That counts for two.
Nocturne. God, man, there has to be way more than one. Nautilus.
Nunu.
Man. Nunu. Nidalee. Nasus.
Nidalee. Nunu. Nautilus.
N, Nidalee. Nasus. Nidalee, Nasus. Nocturne.
And yeah, I got Nunu. Nasus, over the other two.
And Nunu and Willump. Nasus. Holy moly. Nautilus. Nico. Yeah, I'm done. Holy. Sheesh. Nocturne. Nami. Nautilus. Okay, Nami. Nidalee. Nico. Oh, Nico? Oh, I can't remember. Nasus. Nico. Nautilus. Gotta get that one.
N. That's easy. Yep, sounds good. Just hold on one sec. I think I'm getting a notification. Just one sec. Okay, just hold on. I think I'm lagging. Okay, yeah, when you're ready. All right, so Nami, Nasus, Nautilus, Nico, Nidalee, Nocturne, Nunu. I mean, make it a little harder, bro. Did I get them all? Did I actually miss some? That was Google.
You got them all.
I've got them all. What can I say?
Yeah, I got one.
2 points. Nunu and Willump.
Yeah. No, that is two for sure.
3 out of 7. That's a pretty. That's kind of the.
It's a
average.
fail, but yeah. Not bad. Dude, doing stuff by alphabetical is actually a lot harder than I thought. Because usually I do it by like roll.
You need to like enter this like region in your brain, and if you're not there, nothing comes. You know what I mean? Like you just gotta find where they're stored, and if you're not there, you will not get anything.
I played 5 of those. I could have got all of them.
That's cool. That's 3 points. You take those again, baby? Okay, well, there's slightly left in that group at least. I mean, that one made me feel a bit better.
I'm just bad, aren't I? Oh, God. Yeah.
3 out of 7. Okay, there was 7.
It's actually a lot harder than it looks.
Above everyone and the most on 4. On N.
This is really the easy one. This is hard.
This is too hard.
Oofed. God Safa, hey? Doing such a damn good job there. Nailed that straight off
He's
the
talented,
bat.
isn't he?
He knows everything about the N-lettered champions. Now, that's something that he can put in his bio if he's watching. Good job, Safa. Very proud of you. And I'm sure the content guys were as well. They were like, wow, did that really quick. Now, speaking of content, we have some from the fans. You guys at home, of course, have been cooking it up in the kitchen, in the content workshop, over on the social medias and sending them in. So we have 3 great bits of content to kick off the show. So I think we just bring them up and then we can give you all the little shout outs as we go ahead. So have a look at this one. It is from Manizzle. I'm really going to miss you. So it's Pabu. All right, LCO teams, it's time to run. Pabu has logged in. Oh, Bald Boot, sorry, has logged in.
Is he bald? Yeah, he is.
He's gone.
Mostly, no.
Mostly bald, yeah.
He's shaved.
Pinked. He has been pinked, which I guess you'll see in a moment. Now, before we look at that one, let's have a look at this old kitty cat, which is kind of something to do with Pabu as well. Pabu's mum. PGG Nami is not impressed with the mama. What do you mean I have to fold all the washing to be able to sleep through tonight's banger games? Oh, that's a sad kitty. Is it a sad kitty?
Does anyone else's pet sleep on the washed laundry? Because my dog likes to sleep on the washed laundry.
Only if we put it on the bed and leave it there long enough that she has a way with it. But, you know, usually we fold it pretty quickly. Anyway, let's have a look at a little bit of content number 3, and it's from your boy Dar Antares with again. So that's what Pabu looks like if you haven't been on social media.
He's having a Katy Perry phase.
Yes, he's gone full pink and very short as well. Now, Super Saiyan Rose at Pabu22 rocking up to the Penta versus Peace game tonight on LCO like boom. I don't actually know. Is that like Goku or is that one of the other Saiyans?
That is
like super.
I have no idea. I don't watch
Great question.
I haven't watched that.
I don't think that's Goku. I don't think that's Goku because Goku wears the orange one, doesn't he? So everyone who actually watches anime is going to be death glaring me through the screen, but don't think that's Goku, in my professional opinion.
Yeah, no weebs here today, unfortunately, chat. But look, you guys can do all the weeby stuff in chat, you know, AARs and stuff. Go ahead, why not? Now, let's talk about the matchup. That's what we're here for. A little bit of League of Legends. And let's talk Peace first. Now, hold your horses, buckle yourselves in, because this lineup, Rusty, is not what you're expecting.
What are you expecting at this point, right? And they've managed to defy all expectations for anything that you had in mind on, oh, they could do this, they could do that. They've done none of it, and they've done it all at the same time. You've got Appy top lane, back to top from support. Lisa back in, also from support, back to jungle. Tally from top to mid, and then you've got Cheon and Zingy, both substitute players for the team. And as far as I know, Mac, both just solo queue players that have had some practice with Peace and are now hungry to get onto the main stage. But look, there's not a whole lot that you can say about this one other than what Peace have said themselves, but this is certainly the biggest shakeup possible for a team that is definitely reeling as the standings go.
Well, look, if nothing's working, fix it. And that is one way that could fix it. You never know. So if you're talking about coin flips, this is probably one of the biggest coin flips, especially when you're going up against Penta, Jordan. Now, take us through why this team is so damn good right now and what they figured out to stop copping the L's.
I mean, they've really just hit their stride, haven't they? They've kind of gone back to split one, gone back to their ways where they've really just sorted out their drafts. And even that was a discussion point, I think, last week in one of the coach interviews where they sort of said they'd felt like they had sort of come back to a bit more familiar territory when it does come to the drafts. And that certainly seems to have aided them in terms of, you know, this resurgence that we've been seeing from them in Split 2. So they look like they should be relatively comfortable to come through the rest of the split as seed number 1 going into playoffs. This matchup today, I think, should be a pretty straightforward one for them, obviously, with a few of those roster changes coming through from Peace. And I do just want to mention that with those roster changes for Peace, Peace did mention that, you know, it was just giving the core players some time off. I think that's probably pretty important to sort of reiterate that it's not necessarily what we're going to be seeing from them in future weeks as well.
It's just that little change up at a time when, you know, maybe this is not the greatest game to have your core roster go against. If you haven't been having a lot of success, it might break the mental because, of course, you look at both of these teams as probably the biggest rivalry so far in the LCO just based off Split 1. But Split 2, there's just been so many changes, so many things going on with this roster for Peace that, you know, you cannot blame them for trying out literally anything else at this point because nothing's been working, and they've got some superstar players on that roster, or at least they did. Today they've got one who's been overseas. That's a lot of experience, at least in the mid lane. We'll see how that diversifies across the rest of the Rift. But let's bring Nat into the conversation. Nat, first of all, do you enjoy the music as well?
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit distracting. I don't know if we've always had background noise when we've been talking, but I've never noticed it. But today I really noticed it.
Yeah,
you're not vibing it, I guess.
Like, in a
maybe,
good way.
I don't know. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I've just never really noticed.
I don't see the issue. I'm just not. Do we have an interview? Is that what we're doing here?
Yes,
am I
yeah, we do
distracted?
have an interview. I think a little bit. So maybe that's probably my point on the background noise. But I am going to be joined by Chaz and Tally. Thank you both so much for joining me. Tally, I want to start with the fact that you'll be in mid lane today. So tell me a little bit about, I guess, maybe why that's happened and how confident you are to be coming in that mid lane role.
I mean, the reason why like the whole roster thing has happened is we think that like achieving first place isn't like a very realistic goal anymore, and like focusing on playoffs is a much more important thing for us right now. So like having the players take a break and like trying out other things is like what we're focusing on right now. And I mean, I'm back in mid lane. I never lost in the role, so it's much easier than top lane. So let me see how it goes.
I'm looking forward to it, Chaz, hearing that. Does it make you a little bit worried? Are you now more excited for the matchup than previously?
I mean, I wouldn't say maybe worried. I remember like last year I was playing on a pretty low tier team and I was gapping this guy off CD in the mid lane. So now that I have the team gap, like it's probably not going to be a contest. But I think Tally was actually one of the most like played the best, I would say, on Legacy at Worlds last year as an off role. So I think he's got a good understanding of the game. I don't know if he's necessarily like the best mid laner, but as a League of Legends player, he's really good. So I don't think he's going to be a pushover by any means, but I definitely wouldn't say that he's confident coming into this game.
Does it give Pentanet the chance to potentially try some new things out, or are you really prepared for this and you're just going to keep to the book even though there has been some roster changes?
I mean, I think we always just we just play what we want to play. Whether we end up playing some new stuff today to try it out or just go along with what we're comfortable with, I guess depends like how the early drafting goes. I think there's probably a very low chance we don't finish first at this point, so we're not necessarily that worried about playing the most try-hard comps every time. Like getting more practice on the early game stuff will be something we look for, whether we do it this game or not. Obviously, it's going to depend what champs are left up through the bans for the most part, but yeah, we'll just see how draft goes, really. This team's definitely going to be like a bit different to play against because they've got two top lane players. I imagine Tally's going to be drifting away from the mages more so rather than Halo would want to be like taking Ori top 3 a lot of the time, or LeBlanc. I think he's probably going to be playing a Bruiser, so the draft will be different to what we normally play against. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes, I guess.
Is that the game plan for you guys, Tally, in terms of a little bit of a draft change up?
I mean, I'm not leaking anything. You guys are gonna have to wait and find out.
You know, it was worth a try. I do want to know though, how comfortable are you guys playing as a team with, you know, all of these roster changes, all these new players coming in, or is it just not so much about a comfort thing for you guys tonight?
Well, I mean, we're not like uncomfortable. Everyone's like playing roles they've all played. Like it's just like another game of League. We're just gonna like fight it's just LPL. That's pretty much all it's gonna be. We're just gonna fight everything we see. And it's gonna be a good game.
I like it. I look forward to all of the action then. But thank you both so much for joining me, and I'll let you go for the game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it. So you're not frozen.
You tell us, Rusty,
we
why are you
asked you to
frozen?
dance, and you finally danced for us. But unfortunately,
it broke the camera.
It broke the camera because it was so rare. It was so crazy. Now I think we can bring you back in. It looks like you're fixed up.
Yeah. What did
How
you
was
do,
your
Rusty?
dance?
I was drinking water.
You spilled some water on the camera? Is that what you did?
Absolutely not. The camera's working right now. I didn't wipe the camera
A likely
clean.
story.
Of course, of course. Now, let's jump into the predictions before we get into the game. Jordan, can I just say, I hope Sarah's watching. We love your facial hair. I think it's great that you might not have shaved in 2 weeks. And I want that to keep growing because these handlebars, this whole little chin thing you got going on, looks good. And if you agree in Twitch chat, type 1. Now, Jordan, answered the question. And
what's the question?
I don't know. Say what you were going to say.
There was no question.
Answer it.
Answer the question I asked in my head.
I did say to Sarah that I'm going to grow the beard until lockdown. It's going to be a lockdown beard until lockdown ends.
Yep.
So I don't know. We might be here in Split 3 or Split 1 2022 where we still have the beard. We'll see.
You'll be Santa Claus.
I really hope that that happens. I really hope that happens. Now, jump over to page 2. Everyone's gone for Pantanet. Nothing spicy here. Are we going to have something spicy in Twitch chat? I can't see predictions. They haven't started yet. So, you know, I'm hoping it's Pantanet just so I get another W on the board, honestly. But other than that, anyone want to justify this other than, you know, Pantanet are probably the best team playing right now, Rusty?
Yeah, I mean, tipping against them is probably a bit crazy. And I did this before I knew the roster changes as well. So just keep that in mind that was how confident I think we all should be in the first place about PGG getting a win here. Really, like, they're the team right now that are favourites for Worlds, I'd put it that way.
Yeah, and at the moment, with the way that they're playing, I'm hoping that they do a very good job at Worlds. That's if they win. You know, upsets can happen and things can go crazy, especially once it does get to playoffs when you get to those best of 3s, best of 5s in the granny. So that'll be exciting once we get there. But if you guys are hungry, make sure you exclamation DoorDash in the chat. Get yourself some dinner because it's almost 6 p.m. It's prime time to grab yourself a feed. And not only are you going to be able to do that, if you watch the games, if you keep an eye in chat, there is going to be a couple of DoorDash codes dropped every now and then. So just hang around. You'll get yourself a nice little deal. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to keep you around any longer. It's Peace and Pentanet for game number 1.
Ooh, well, looking forward to this one, Rusty. For maybe some different reasons than what we might have anticipated. I am quite excited to see what these, quote-unquote, new players for Peace are going to be able to do. I'm keeping an eye on that bot lane, you know, Cheon and Zingy. Maybe they can pull something interesting out. Maybe they can do something exciting. I feel like, at least as far as Peace is concerned, there's really nothing to lose in this game. Whereas for Pentanet, there is so much to lose. You know, imagine Pentanet loses this game. That's going to be an eyebrow raiser. But for Peace, you know, the expectation is that they should get demolished here by a very, very informed Pentanet with a newish roster. So I don't think there's a whole lot on the line for Peace, which maybe lets them play quite an interesting game today.
Yeah, I do think we'll get, like, for what it's worth, first of all, I don't know if this is the easiest game for Cheon and Zingy to join in the first place, right? Because you've got the rest of the map saying we're going to pick bruisers most likely, we're going to fight at all times, is what Tally just said as well. So it'll be an interesting welcome to the LCO for both bottom laners here of Peace. But at the same time, you know, if they're hungry, if their upstarts really looking to prove themselves, there's no better time like the present to get it done. And if you were to get an upset win, there's no better team to take down. So I would imagine that hunger still definitely exists there.
Well, there you go. You get the Aphelios Thresh, so instantly quite a solid bot lane duo for the two Peace lads that do come into this roster. So not only do they get themselves a nice solid couple of champions, but they also do take it away from Pentanet. It'll prompt the response of the Ezreal Karma. Obviously, Karma can be flexed around the place, but you know, Ezreal and Karma not too shabby of a bot lane themselves, so we do expect to see them having a pretty good time together. Viego in there as well. You know, not entirely sure exactly where that will end up for Pentanet. Could still go really top, mid, jungle, anywhere.
Yeah, so just quickly to take stock of the bans as well. Lee Sin, a champion that still is up and something that Chaz has been playing a lot of. Viego could also go into his hands. Bio also can play the champion. But Tahm, Kench, and Aurelia were taken away, and Graves was also taken away. Graves being a flex pick at the moment, just a little bit too dangerous perhaps. Tally definitely a Graves player. And the Xin Zhao are going to be taken away here. Just a high priority jungler that does physical damage being removed from the board. I would expect the Karma to be going to Decoy, and it should just be a Karma as bot lane. It was picked pretty quickly and with confidence into the bottom lane of Peace, and something that I'm very excited to see here, Jordan, is that Rise that has been picked by Tally. Now, Tally can definitely play this, and I know it was mentioned by Chaz that it may be bruisers in mid. When Tally was a top laner, he still played mages. He's a very good Victor. I have no doubt he can play the Rise, so I would not be shocked to see him holding this champion.
Yeah, Rise definitely one of those champions that has tended to flex between mid and top and really all over the place in the history of League of Legends. So champion that if you're a top laner or a mid laner, you're probably well accustomed to. Either way, still waiting for one more ban to come through here from Pentanet. maybe target in towards the jungle. We've got a pick through there yet. It'll be Volibear, so not a shabby ban, I suppose. Does take some options away from Lisa in particular. See what these last couple are going to be through from the Peace roster. I do like what they're putting together, though. I mean, they've got some pretty good scaling out of this team comp already for Peace, so just need something to sort of get them into that mid game, and maybe there's a reasonable chance they can take the fight to Pentanet at the very least. The issue, though, being that Pentanet is known as one of those really, really solid team fighting teams. And Kindred, I mean, that is an interesting choice, I think. That's fair to say.
Yeah, Lisa's staring down a bit of an M4 angle this game, perhaps looking to do the carrying for his team, but it's not a protect the Kindred type of comp at all. I think one of the main reasons that you could look at Kindred as a champion choice is because it handles Viego pretty well in team fighting, right? Viego's sole philosophy as a champion is get a reset, probably just win. And Kindred innately does deny that from happening at all. You can also combo that with the Rise ulti perhaps to get yourself out of safety. Unfortunately for him, on the other side of the coin is a lot of AoE threats. So the Kindred ultimate has a significantly increased value here against PGG's composition. They have no displacements, right? No Lee Sin kicks, nothing to, no Gragas ultimate. So you're going to stay in your Kindred ult. But they have so much crowd control and so much damage in a very solid front-to-back team fighting composition that it could be nightmarish to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a... I'm not really sure which way to go for it, right? Are you happy that you're not going to get pushed out of the ultimate, or are you a bit concerned that as soon as the ultimate does finish, you're all potentially going to be bunched up and then jumped upon by Fiddle or Ornn, or even Viego potentially gets those resets and starts going to town. Either way, Camille, the final selection through there for Peace, so a little bit of a different offering up in the top lane from both of the top laners. Penta going back to the tried and true, the Ornn, the champion that we really associated with him quite a lot in Split 1. Happy back onto the Camille, and it'd be interesting to see Appy go back up into the top lane after a few weeks now of playing in the support role. I'm not sure that's going to be a huge deal for him. I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern, but if he's maybe been out of practice, if he's been working on the support in the solo queue and whatnot, then there might be something to be said there for a rough lane for Appy. But, in the past, we've seen him being able to hold his own up in the top lane quite nicely. So I can't say I'm too concerned, at least as far as that part of the map is concerned for Peace. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how this one does pan out, because again, I look at this roster for Penta. I see 2 teleports on Biopanther, on Chaz. I see, 2 new players coming into the LCO for Peace down in that bot lane, Chaeyon and Zingy, and I can imagine all eyes from the Pentanet roster are going to be turned in that direction, as they traditionally have been in the past.
Yeah, it could be a very not so warm welcome for the bottom lane of Peace coming into this one, given that they're taking on the big dogs of the league. I do think that, again, the composition that PGG have, comfortable, strong, everything that they could possibly want. On the Peace side of the coin here, I do look to Appy and Lisa and say that they're just such exceptional players in their own right. They are kind of 5-role players in solo queue as well. So I think they'll be perfectly fine readapting, to their natural habitat.
All right, well, a lot of talk about Peace. Now it's maybe time to focus a little bit on Pentanet as we do bring Charlie back into the conversation, and it's good to chat with you again, Charlie. I did say I wanted to focus on Pentanet, but first I actually do want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? Peace coming in with a couple of the roster changes, was that a bit of a surprise to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge surprise. Like, to be blunt, I think that Peace changing their roster at all from last split was a huge surprise. I think that they almost took us out, right? In the semifinals, we only won 3-2, and then in the grand final, we only won 3-1. And then to see one split later, all these roster changes coming out of left field completely threw us off guard. Like, I guess you can justify the Barbip pickup because of like his tenure and his like relationship with Halo, but I don't know. I think it's really strange that they're doing all this stuff. I think that the players they picked up are the right direction to go in. They're just strong solo queue players. Like, they're just high-ranked, high mechanical skill players that can be worked well with over time. Let's see if Peace do keep these players and work with them over time. I don't think they will. I don't think they're anywhere as good as Violet and Aladoric, but yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on the information that at least we've received, this is more of a break week, a quote-unquote break week for some of the more core players in the roster. So I don't know if we'll see them back tomorrow or if it's for the rest of the week or whatever that may be. But What has that sort of meant for you guys in terms of your preparation? I assume you would have obviously prepared and drafted and figured out whatever you wanted to do going into this game against Peace with the intention of going up against their core roster. So does this change a lot as far as you are concerned about how this match should play out, or are you sort of more so focusing on yourselves as Penta and how you want to play the game rather than, you know, denying something from Peace or dealing with what they want to throw at you?
Yeah, we changed with draft just a little bit. The thing about Tally mid lane is that he shares a lot of the same champion pool as a top laner. So we did account for picks like Graves, Irelia, Renekton, like our 3 bans this game, because they could just flex those in multiple roles, and it just get quite annoying when a red side team can flex Renekton between 2 roles. So taking out that kind of stuff is nice. Outside of that, all we really have to go off is like solo queue stats, right? So we just had a quick scout of the new bottom lane, see what they like to play. We didn't actually see if they like to play Aphelios and Thresh, so I think we're living a bit rent-free in their heads at the moment. They've just picked that away from us, so we can't play it ourselves, and we just get the easy counter pick with the Ezreal Karma. But yeah, I think in terms of preparation, it's pretty much as per normal.
Yeah, I mean, okay, then let's sort of take a stock of the draft. You sort of spoke yesterday, or rather last week, I should say, with Skimmy, and you sort of mentioned that you had sort of started to iron out maybe some of the kinks in the drafting process, or maybe you're going back to basics or back to the tried and true, for lack of a better word. I don't necessarily want to put words in your mouth, but that was the implication that I got from the interview you had last week. How are you feeling about the draft today? Are you sort of pretty happy with what you've got together? It looks like it's, you know, again, back to pretty much what we would expect from Pentanet with the strong top lane in terms of the front line there. You've got Pabu kind of flexing here and there, fairly solid bot lane, and everything sort of going in together and working nicely.
Yeah, I think this draft is pretty perfect. It's like we just get a really strong first pick that can be played in multiple roles. They pick like short range champions up early in the draft, like Ryze, even like Thresh Aphelios. Like it's not that long range as the game progresses. So if we just play such champions like Fiddlesticks, Ornn, Karma, Ezreal, these champs have really long engage range and like long range just damage in general. So they're pretty much outranged from the get-go. So I guess that's something I've been working on a lot, and Western Way's been helping with too, just kind of identifying what the enemy's team composition wants to do super early, and then countering that as opposed to countering the specific champions within that comp as well.
All right, well, one more question then before I let you go. Obviously, we're a few weeks away now from playoffs, but it does start to feel like it's getting a little bit closer and maybe a little bit more pertinent. Are you feeling like there are really any threats for Pentanet at the moment? Because there's been a bit of shakiness, I think, from everyone aside from yourselves in the last couple of weeks. So I suppose the real question and the TLDR is, who is the biggest threat for Pentanet, or even is there a threat for Pentanet right now?
Yeah, we don't really know. Like, we've had this conversation internally, like, who are we going to verse in the grand final? Like, we actually don't know. Like, we thought it could be Direwolves, and then when we played against Direwolves, we kind of just, like, brushed them aside. Like, well, I think it's Order, who is also tied with Chiefs at the top of just below us as well, but they don't really feel too scary. And then Peace are doing this now. It's going to be one of those teams. I can imagine it just being Chiefs. And I think that Chiefs do have certain players who can have standout performances and win games off us, like they've done it before. So if I had to put my money on it, I would say we verse Chiefs in the final, but it's definitely not as scary as versing the previous roster, Split's Peace roster from last Split. It's definitely an easier task ahead of us than that was.
All right, well, we'll see whether or not things are going to change in the lead up to playoffs, or indeed in playoffs. Doesn't necessarily mean that exactly where we're at right now is going to be exactly where we are when we do come to those more important matches. Either way, Charlie, thank you very much for your time. We'll let you go for now.
No worries. Thanks so much.
Cheers, mate. All right, Rusty. Well, obviously the game just taking a little while to get sorted. I'm told there are some ping issues going on, so we're just waiting for that to all be ironed out. I want to touch on this bot lane a little bit. I feel like that's maybe the interesting point of this matchup. We've got the Aphelios Thresh, which is traditionally a very, very strong 2v2 kind of a setup, but then very, very quickly Pentanet responded straight away with the Ezreal and the Karma. And I think from my perspective here, Ezreal and Karma have a very good opportunity to just sort of play this lane around the way that they want to. If they make a mistake, they're going to be in trouble. But are they the ones, indeed, if Pentanet are the ones to dictate this bot lane, are they going to have a good time? Or is it looking towards maybe the Peace bot lane to be a little bit stronger in that 2v2?
I mean, taking out of the equation who's leashing and sides of the map that junglers are playing on, right? If we were to just, like, in isolation, consider the 2v2. I've been saying this a lot, actually, Jordan, but I do think the Karma is one of the best enabling supports in the game, right? Because she has so much wave control herself and so much AoE and pressure that she can apply from damage that it compensates for a lot of ADC's weaknesses and enables them, right, to get through some tougher patches, perhaps, in their laning phase. So if we look at how a Karma and an Ezreal handles an Aphelios and a Thresh, if a hook hits, there's obviously a lot of combo damage, right? Karma Shield can negate some of that. If there's Guardian, can negate some of that as well. And Karma and Ezreal both play two sides of the lane, so you'll have like Ezreal outside in the lane, and then Karma playing in the bushes. Karma can place or control more vision, and Ezreal throws Qs in towards the lane, right, where Karma gets to harass from the bushes. And there's really no way that you can beat that as Aphelios and Thresh unless you hit those hooks, which, to be fair, is every hook champion, right?
Yeah, well, I find it interesting that you mentioned the rune there, actually, you know, Guardian. It's actually Comet for Decoy here. And I feel like there's again, when it comes to Karma in the support role, there's just so many options, right? You can go Guardian, you can go Airy, and you can also go Comet. And, you know, maybe there's arguments for something else here and there as well. I'm not going to get into that. But it seems like Decoy is, at least in this instance, wanting to get a little bit more harassed down in that lane, try and get that Comet through early on in the piece and try to poke Zingy and Cheon out of the lane, or at least to keep them under a higher degree of pressure. What about as far as the junglers are concerned? I mean, Pabu on the Fiddlesticks is, I'm just taking a look back, not something that we've seen from him so far. No, we did actually see from him once, yes.
Yeah.
Day 9. He played the Fiddlesticks, and I've marked him as green on my little sheet here, so it must have meant that he had a pretty reasonable performance on the Fiddlesticks. I can't remember exactly what game that was, but green means go, green means good. Fiddlesticks an interesting choice, though. What do you reckon about this one? It obviously does bring a little bit of AP back into the roster, which was very much required when you have Viego in the mid lane and Ornn up in the top lane. You're probably not going to get too much damage through from him, so you've got Karma there to help out in that respect. But primarily your magic damage is going to be coming through from Fiddlesticks. But a champion that does feel like it heavily relies on getting to level 6 early, so we might be expecting to see a little bit of a slower early game here from Pabu, which I think isn't necessarily out of the norm for him with some of the champions that we've been seeing him play lately, like Karthus last week as well. Very, very similar.
Yeah, I don't think this jungle matchup will be very impactful early. I think a lot of it revolves around how laners are going with their priority. Fiddlesticks obviously wants 6. Kindred is very comfortable farming and looking for those marks as well. And yeah, you could look for ganks. But most champions can look for ganks. Even a Mumu jungle gets 1 gank before 6, right? You got those double buffs, throw out a bandage and see if it connects. But I would expect Pabu just to do what he did last time. Honestly, I don't remember exactly who he was against when he played it, but I know he was on the blue side, or the top right side. That's blue, right? It is now.
Right, I think is red.
Red. He's
yeah,
at red
I think
side.
That's red. Unless I'm crazy.
I'm having a moment, man. We'll just move past it.
It's fine.
And he'd like double camp leashed, got his way to 4 as fast as possible, and you just play for 6. So I think there is a world where like you watch him full clear, you watch Kindred maybe get the first mark from some lane priority that exists, and then the game starts from there. And one other thing, I don't actually know how long we have, Jordan, at this point, but there was a point that I wanted to bring up before. Like,
I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's bring Mac back in, just so that we have an extra person to have a chat with. But I'd love to hear what your point is.
So, Peace's roster changes, hi Mac, and the reason for those being that they're giving players a rest. I've actually been in like literally the exact same position as Peace this split when I was coaching in 2019. And I do think that having a week rest is incredibly valuable. And you have to consider that these players, first of all, had expectations of going to Worlds. Anything less than that was a disappointment. And now they've had consecutive bad weeks, right? So you'd imagine how they're actually thinking and how they're assessing their state in the league, because they just think they should win every game when they're not winning any games. It can play on you pretty heavily. So that's a pretty significant factor. And I know most people be like, oh, you only play like 2 days a week, 3 days a week. Like, that's not even a big deal. But like, they practice every single day and it could be the same results over the span of 5 weeks where all they've been doing is struggling. So I would say, you know, respectfully give them a chance to have that break and, you know, be kind to the players that have subbed in their stead, because they'd obviously want to win. And I'm sure the rest of the players will feel bad for having a week off if they lose.
I think a key to winning as well is also spamming the correct emotes to tilt your opponents. Now, Rusty, what is your favorite emote in-game?
All of the bees. So I think sad bee is the best one, but a good angry bee goes a long way.
Very true. What about you, Jordan? Any ones in particular?
I like I don't know what it's called, but there's a frog with a question mark. And that's my favorite one because it works in any situation. You know, you make a terrible play, you know, you flash flay and you miss your flay. That never happens to me. But if it did, you know, I might spam that emote, question mark. Don't worry about it.
Very true.
You manage to juke something, you question mark ping everyone. You die, you question mark ping. Well, you don't ping, but you question mark emote. You know, it works. It works in every situation. So question mark frog. Don't know what it's called, but question mark frog.
Well, I don't really use the ones of the pictures and stuff, but I use the dancing ones, and I know that Kha'Zix has that the thriller, you know, the thriller with the size. That's pretty cool. Anyway, we don't want to know what we think of the cool emotes. Let's have a look with the check in with the pros rather to see which are the best ones to spam.
My new favorite emote is a Karthus laughing emote. It just fits every situation. Like you kill the whole enemy, you can just do that emote. Your team ints, you can just do that emote like anytime. I just always use that emote, and I think that's the only one I like constantly use now.
The Silas one, it's like where he puts his head like that. It's like he's like stressing out. So you use it if, you know, one of your teammates die or something early game, if you're losing the game. So yeah.
Like the shy Yumi, how she has like a little tear and she's like looking to the side.
My favorite emote to use in the game is definitely the one with Bard where he pushes up his glasses. I think that's really cool, and it's animated, so that's always a plus.
It's probably one of the B emotes. So like the sad B or the angry B, those are pretty good.
Oh, it's that little frog. It's like it's a frog. Is it a frog? It's like some lizard thing. It's definitely like greenish, and it puts a little question mark and it makes like some like it's like a Yoshi type noise. It's pretty funny. It's kind of BM, but it's like cute at the same time. So I like that.
The crab emote. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but it's just like a crab. It looks something like it's like a red crab with like doing this above its head.
The cat Y. I don't know what it's called exactly. The one which is like this.
Crying Zoe waving goodbye, because there's nothing more satisfying than landing a bubble on someone as Zoe, dancing a little bit, and then like flashing up the emote while the Q's flying through the air, and then they just die.
It would have to be the Caitlyn sipping the tea emote, because I love tea and it just works. So yeah.
I really enjoy like unbench the Kench. It's like a time Kench emote.
I like the Silas thumbs down.
Just a frog with, again, just like a question mark, and she's like, what's going on? And they're like really confused.
The sad B emote and the happy B emote. Just the B emotes are good.
Timo doing like this one? Oh, the Chinese pig. It's my favorite. I don't have it on any of my accounts yet, but on TR, oh, love it. It's got the nice pig sound. You know, you can just let the enemy know you're thinking of them after you kill them. It's beautiful.
Crab one is good. It's just like a big crab that's like this. It doesn't move, but it's just like above your head.
The enemy team's emote when I'm versing them. So Legacy Game 1, I will have the Legacy emote the entire time. First Blood, Legacy emote. We win, Legacy emote. Ace, Legacy emote. Every time.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on whether or not we get to see any of those emotes as we do go through this game, but it looks like we're ready to go. Pentanet and Peace taking on one another. First game of week number 7, and if you're just joining us, you may want to take a look down the Peace roster, because things have changed up quite a little bit in that respect. That's the big talking point for this game. Full roster getting a bit of a break, and we'll see what Pentanet is going to be able to do about it today. I dare say, Rusty, this one should be a pretty comfortable game for them.
Yeah, and for anyone confused, the coach interview is well in the past now. We've spoken to Charlie a long time ago. We're just going to watch the league as it starts fresh this time around, which is always very exciting to do, Jordan. Don't often get this opportunity. Unfortunately, of course, the one time we say that we might not get an early first blood, but a very early aggression in bot lane. Wow.
Oh, well, that Aphelios is ticking. The Ignite won't quite be enough. And Praetor can't find an angle. Zingy doing a good job of body blocking, but this is kind of what we were talking about when we were sort of mentioning this 2v2. Decoy and Praetor able to just play opposite sides of the lane, get aggressive, put that poke down. Cheon and Zingy really have to play from essentially no HP. Now, Cheon did only just now pop his pot, so he does have that to help out, but Decoy is really unrelenting right now with this Karma and just continues to put damage into that bot lane. I mean, obviously the Comet is helping out as well, but you can already see the kind of situation that the Peace bot lane have found themselves in.
I mean, frankly, it's just bad. When you walk into a Karma Ezreal lane at level 1, the number one thing that you have to be aware of is where they are, right? If they haven't leashed, you need to be aware of that, and you need to understand that they're going to be in the bush looking to just use the Mantra and Power Karma Q. that is a strong enough amount of burst to win lane level 1. And unfortunately, 4 pieces 2v2, they fell prey to it. They copped a whole lot of damage. Early Ignite was used by Decoy to prevent any kind of heal value as well. And the potions do get used. This means there's going to be a CS lead. This means that control of the bush and the lane belongs to a Karma, which is all you're after, right? Because the lane can just continue on this path, looking fantastic for PGG down in the 2v2. But note that they do have, right now, a summoner disadvantage. So if Peace are able to weather that and get health back, they could be on here.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Never mind, down at the bot lane, Praedyth, he gets death sentenced by Zingy. We'll have to flash back on out. In the end, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
but
but
see
that's
Pabu
big.
hanging around there too.
That's still a huge win overall, right? That is a flash and heal gone from Praedyth, Ignite gone from Decoy, a good hook from Zingy as well. No real signs of nerves, I will say, coming from Thresh so far. So I think you're actually really happy with that if you're Peace down there. Good opportunity to try and reset your wave.
That's kind of what I was saying as well. It's like if you make a mistake in this bot lane as Pentanet, you can be punished for it, you know, if a death sentence actually does hit. But if it doesn't, then obviously Pentanet's going to have the run of it. Still, I mean, not the end of the world for Pentanet down there. They're still kind of slightly ahead. You got the CS lead. You do have the tier back for Praedyth, which is not the worst thing in the world. I suppose it's time for us to keep an eye on what's going on the rest of the map. And there hasn't really been a whole lot going on, actually, to be fair. Up in the top lane, it's really just a farm fest. Pabu still clearing his jungle out. Will be spotted by that ward. So that's good information for Peace. But he's level 4 right now. Has gone for Predator build. Interesting choice on Fiddlesticks. But I don't think we'll be seeing too much from him until we get to level 6.
I really like the Predator build. It does mean that you're able to use ult even in vision, right, and still be able to catch up to people. It means you're less flash reliant also. I'm quite big. I think that this is the best rune for Fiddles. Like, I can't actually think of one that I would prefer over this regardless. Just looking to farm till 6 is going to be Pabu though, and doing pretty well for himself so far. I didn't see who the first marked Scuttle Crab went to, and if that was Lisa.
I can tell you Lisa has got 0 marks so far.
So yeah, Pabu was able to get to the bot Scuttle. He also started from top to bot clear as well, so the cards played in PGG's favor this time around. But really that was the first and only opportunity super early where you'd expect a lot of action to take place. Because Chaz should be stuck under turret a lot of the time. Tally seems to be holding this in a freeze intentionally, and top lane is a tank versus a Camille. So they are just going to be farming with a little bit of biffing here and there.
Yeah, Chaz might be in a spot of bother here, actually. Zingy on the rotation up. Lisa is there as well, but either spotted on a ward or a bit of spider sense maybe tingling. Never mind, we'll have a look at the bot lane as Cheon does get caught by the chains from Decoy, and first blood will go over to Praedyth. I mean, that's the danger sometimes, right? When you go roaming as a support, your ADC gets 1v2'd and there's not much they can do about it.
Yeah, Praedyth may not have flash, Decoy does, and Danny with absolute confidence there, I will say, flashes before any kind of preemptive response or any kind of response at all was available from Cheon. Just dies. Going to stop a recall here in mid lane as well is Chaz onto Tally. End result from all of this action is a pretty comprehensive lead now for the bottom lane of PGG. You can see it was fairly even for a moment there in farm, and how quickly that turns around, and the death means that all those minions under turret go missing, and it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, right? Because it's really one of the most unenjoyable lanes to play against if you get behind against them. And Ezreal and Akama, I can think of nothing really worse except, I don't know, maybe a Xerath or something like that could be pretty annoying as well. But
they're walking into a trap here potentially. Oh, top.
They're going to have to try and make something happen here, aren't they? Bio Panther. All of the Forge God does go ripping through Appy, knocks him up. Here is the Predator Boots coming online for Pabu. Flash forward, Lisa will have to flash away. And it looks like Peace will get out with maybe not all of their lives, because Chaz also has a flash button and an ultimate as well to boot, and that'll be a kill going his way. 2-0 for Pentanet. Down in the bot lane, Praedyth is more than happy to just keep on farming.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't die here. Has heal, so it'd be pretty difficult to kill him depending on the timing of the Ignite from Zingy. Should just be able to catch this wave. A lot of that play that just happens there from Pentanet.gg was a result of Peace walking over their wards. So it looks good, the play's nice, it is only 1 kill, so you kind of take that. And Peace could say, you know, it was their mistake, 1 kill could have been a lot worse. But that was so easy to read for PGG, so easy to counter for them as well. And even in the execution on the Peace side, it wasn't very clean. So honestly, just well played from PGG, not a whole lot more to say, good vision control.
And a lot of the time, that's really what the game comes down to, isn't it? Just good vision control. And that is actually what Peace have got on the Dragon Pit at the moment. It seems that Penta are a little bit more interested in the Rift Herald. There won't actually be a response from Peace, right? This could be actually an opportunity to maybe try to sneak that Dragon when there's 3 players sort of focused on the Rift Herald. But instead, we do have Lisa just pathing through the jungle, looking to clear out that red buff. And slowly but surely, the advantages continue to mount for Pentanet. They're up about 1k.
Flash and ult here, Jordan, as well, is a big risk for Tally in mid lane. It's a big risk for all side laners because flashes are missing across the board, bar Zingy. And Pabu was able to keep his flash. The last fight that happened in top lane, remember, he was level 5 for that play as well. So this is going to be a very powerful Fiddlesticks that can have a pretty large influence over the entirety of the map if he's able to have his way.
Oh, Jazz just pops his ward down, but that's very quickly going to be cleared out by Tally. Again, mentioning that vision control the Peace have got around the Dragon Pit. 1 control ward in the pit itself, 1 in the Pixel Brush, and 1 in the mid lane side bush. So there is really no way that Pentanet can walk in here safely, except through the bottom side of the map. Prated does fire the True Shot Barrage, connects onto Zingy, but doesn't hit too poorly. Here comes Pabu. Instantly lands Respite to try and keep Peace alive. Hasn't done a great job of that, though, because we've already seen 2 falling. And that is a Dragon that will almost assuredly go the way of Peace, plus, or rather I should say Pentanet, plus a couple of kills their way as well.
Yeah, pretty easy to note at this point as well, just the value that comes out of having that Predator on the Fiddlesticks. He may be in vision when he ults, but he moves so fast to get to the fight and flashes to cover the distance. And, you know, the Lamb's Respite that we discussed during the draft phase and the potential that it has in keeping his team alive makes no difference if your whole team is 1 HP to the full health of your opponents. It's not going to stop a Viego reset. It is simply going to delay the inevitable if that's how you're starting fights.
Yeah, so Pentanet kind of get to have their cake and eat it. They get the Rift Herald, they get the Dragon, they get a bunch of kills as well. And they're going to start to look scarier and scarier and scarier. 2-0 for the mid laner for Chaz and 2-0 for Praetors. So the kills are going on to the champions that you'd want them on. I mean, maybe Pabu's feeling a little bit hard done by. He's been putting in a bit of work. Hasn't been able to get himself a kill, but end of the day, when you do see Viego and Ezreal get ahead, you start to get a little bit concerned. Even when there is something like a Ryze or an Aphelios or whatever on the other side of the field for Peace here, it's, you know, it's reasonable scaling, but are they going to be given time to scale into the game? And even if they are, do they scale better than Penta? I'm not sure the answer is yes.
Yeah, it's about the type of scaling as well, I think. Like, Camille can team fight, Ryze can team fight, but they're more sculpted for side lane pressure into fights. Where I think PGG are definitely, you know, very well equipped for their front to back, for their 5v5ing. They can put Chaz in a side lane so they can weather a bit of any kind of advantages that Peace do have also. And now it's a 2-0 Viego, so this is one of those dicey situations where if you try in 1-3-1, I think you might even consider throwing that strategy out the window early and start looking for 1-3 with a hovering one instead, just to help.
Raiden's is already doing so much damage. Here comes True Shot Barrage. Wouldn't have been enough damage, I don't think, to kill Zingy had it even connected, but still forces them back underneath their tower once again. And that has really been the name of the game for the Peace bot lane. Really from the outset, really from level 1. Pabu's here with a Rift Herald in tow.
Pabu is always here, I will say as well. He's been hovering the area for so much time. Knows that his bot lane is winning, so is it time wasted? Probably not, now that they have brought Lisa into the mix and they have a Herald to summon here as well. This probably won't be the full turret. It'll be low though.
Moonlight Vigil able to connect onto Praetor and Pabu. Won't really do a whole lot with those roots though. Not really much that Peace can do in this kind of a situation. They need someone else here. They can't win the 3-on-3. Especially not when Pabu's ultimate is available.
And let's just say that the wave, you know, they stay alive this time around. The waves get trimmed by Lisa, they help. What does it actually matter when Praetor and Decoy can stay and Chayon and Zingy cannot, right? They're going to have to reset. And so they get another free wave to hit this turret. And, like, congratulations, you've bought a wave, but you really have just, yet again, delayed the inevitable And that's what a lot of this game is starting to feel like.
That'll about be the first turret destroyed. All that gold going over to Pradith. Has a lot left in the bank. 1.4k before he has this reset. So
huge.
We'll be looking to finish off the Trinity Force.
I think you do flip your bottom lane elsewhere at this point as well. It's pre-14 only barely, but you probably want them on the map. Just given how much pressure a Karma and an Ezreal could have, there's an argument to put them top lane, to put Penta to the weaker side of the map, right? On bottom lane, he'll have the least amount of resources, but is an Ornn. But alternatively, you could also put Chaz top, or Penta top with your bottom lane going mid, just because that is the best point of pressure for your bottom lane to move out of lane from, to influence those side lanes. And given how strong they feel at the current moment, yeah, it's only 2,000, but, oh, hang on.
Crowstorm lands right on top of Tally. He's trying to run, trying to escape. And he will just get that helping hand from Zingy that gets him out of there alive.
Does survive, yeah. Lantern's going to save him, but again, no pressure on the map. It is all on the disengage. And now you've got PGG with a pressure play of their own, right? They're able to move through the enemy red side jungle. This navigates around any piece wards as well, as they're all in river. And have a little look-see in there, see what they can find. If nothing, it's good information.
Oh, well, as always, in the top lane, really not a whole lot going on apart from farming. Panther and Appy more than content to slowly but surely whittle away at one another and wait for something to happen elsewhere on the map that they might be able to influence. And that may well be happening shortly with the Rift Herald. Not much of a contest here, though, to be expected from Peace. You have Rise down in the bot lane, no teleport available. Lisa still focused on the bot side of the map. They may try to rush the dragon in response. This time, Peace. And they might just be able to get it here for free as well. Be a little bit too quick for Pentanet to be able to contest, I'd say.
Yeah,
even with all the speed boosts from Decoy.
You don't fight that, right? You just get a Herald, you're able to place it at mid lane. It's post 14 minutes, so the turret is brittle and should just immediately drop with the time that you have here. Basically should just be the whole turret that drops. And I think you take that trade. The risk is now you've got a flank from Kindred, a flank from Rise. But they're able to use the vision they have at the red side jungle to most likely just walk away.
Pradith is sticking around. He's feeling confident. Two-shot barrage goes ripping through Zingy once again. A lot of damage before you can even get into the fight. Never feels good as Thresh, even if you do have a stopwatch. Oh, and Pabu might be looking for something a little bit over-eager with that one. Bit of a wry scratch at the back of the neck there.
Just wants to show off his logo, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's a cool logo, Pabu. Or should we say Pink Boo?
Boo? Bald Boo? I don't know, whatever word you want to go with.
He's not got the bald buff, so that's Caps level.
Yeah.
Caps is legitimately just like clean bald. Pabu is a pink skinhead.
Reminds me of Aang a little bit. If he would just have painted a blue arrow in his head, that would look perfect, I reckon. But anyways, besides the point. Nice damage through from Appy, but that's really all that he's going to be able to do here. Panther won't give him the opportunity to do much else. Just backs away, looks for the reset here. Has teleport, so if that tower is being threatened, can just jump back up there if he feels it's necessary. Crossfire Gauntlet completed, so first item in the bank for Panther as well.
Okay.
So,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. This is the first time where I think PGG have actually done the lane assignments that I was expecting, where they have their really strong Viego now contesting the Camille. They have their mid lane able to rotate at all times as well. So I think this is the lane assignment where they're most poised to build an advantage on the top side of the map, where otherwise it felt very distant having Chaz not immediately at the play and forcing him to teleport.
well, for now, Pentanet are more than happy to just work their way through the jungle and start to establish some vision control there. And this is where the game starts to become a little bit claustrophobic, I feel like, maybe for Peace, when you're going up against a Fiddlesticks and you sort of start to feel like you're getting pushed out of your own jungle a little bit. You don't really want to walk in there and look for vision control because you're wondering if the Fiddlesticks is going to be in a bush here or there or everywhere. A little bit of a collapse going on in mid, but it won't eventuate into a whole lot short of pushing Cheon and Zingy out of the mid lane. for a brief moment.
That's all it is, though, because now they're going to walk into the enemy jungle again on the red side. If they're not clearing vision, then they're pushing Appy away. And every single time Appy sees them leave mid, he has no choice. He gets himself zoned. Even if you can 1v1 Chaz, it's not worth it because he has the reinforcements. So turret is going to fall, and yes, we're trading objectives, but if you're in the lead and you're trading objectives, I do think you're still trading up. Well, it is a common belief, of course, Jordan, that you can probably starve your opponents at the same time as giving yourself incremental leads. You're still a very good team fighting composition, and I like the idea of blowing the map up, you know, creating as much space as possible, just so you get more places that a Fiddlesticks can hide or an Ornn ultimate can sound the horn, you know, from fog somewhere, and really open up the potential for yourself.
Lots of room to work with for Pentanet at the moment. Minute and a half on that Dragon. It is a Cloud Soul if we do get there, which actually I don't think is the worst thing in the world, to be honest, for Pentanet. It'll be quite nice for Pabu, gives him a little bit more ability to close the distance, and you know, I suppose when you're a Karma, a Cloud Soul's always going to be nice. You'll be zooming around.
Zingy has just discovered an absolute gold mine of control wards. It's going to take him quite some time to clear that one, so brings over Chaeyon for some backup. 3 control wards about to be cleared on the top side red buff, but you've got Dragon up in 50 seconds and PGG are fresh off their reset on top side of the map, usually indicating they're going to be playing towards the bottom side of the rift. We'll see, however, because I think they'd always be preferential to a cheeky team fight before anything else.
Yeah, Decoy definitely hanging around looking for something. Now they'll make sure that they shove that mid wave in, get priority there, give Peace a couple of things to worry about. Make sure they have to clear out the mid wave and then also think about what's happening in the Dragon Pit. Not to mention all of the poke that's starting to come through from Praedyth. Now Trinity Force and the Manamune being finished off. So it really just starts to escalate for Ezreal. Biopanther may be caught out here, 2-on-1, but there is the rotation coming in from Decoy, and Biopanther, let's be real, he is Ornn, so difficult to chunk through that amount of HP and tankiness. Lisa certainly seems to want to have a crack. Will have to use Lamb's Respite. Won't. He didn't use Lamb's Respite. He was dead anyway, he thought maybe, because the rest of Pentanet had rotated back up and across, and it's a 2-for-1 trade overall. In fact, 3-for-1 actually, because Zingy went down in the meanwhile there as well, and that is Baron for Pentanet.
Yeah, definitely will just be the Baron picked up for them pretty easily here. Yet Lisa chooses not to use the Lamb's Respite. I think that's just a conscious choice to save the cooldown. He knows that he is going to die. We'll see exactly how Zingy falls here. It is quite simply just Praedyth running and hitting those Mystic shots. Not a whole lot to say about that solo kill. But Baron's all theirs. The game well and truly in their hands. Peace looking for the consolation prize, if that's even what this is, of the Cloud Drake. Overall, solid fighting, and again, you know, you've got PGG hunting for the fights. You've got them looking. Look at the vision control they have on the top side red quadrant. They've almost maintained that, you know. Anytime Peace clear it, they respond and control it, and they team fight around it.
Cool, calm, and collected really seems to be the mantra for Pentanet. Only the 1 death so far, and that was Biopanther up in the top lane, which kind of resulted in the Baron actually going over the way of Pentanet. So, all things considered, it's been almost a perfect game from Pentanet. I don't think they've really put a foot wrong, apart from maybe if your name is Pabu and you've crow-stormed over the wall and done nothing with it. But hey, who was watching that? Not me. Now with the Baron involved, Pentanet are going to start to encroach onto this tower, and there is no world where Peace wants to step up and try to defend this, knowing that the Fiddlesticks can be over the wall ready to ult, really, from any side.
I just feel like if you're not defending this, you are just losing. You're not getting anything back. Like, the top outer turret is going to be a trade for an inhibitor here. And the Ezreal poke and the threat of an Ornn engage now that turret's gone is so high that the game could end. You really do need Ryze to come back to have some kind of... Oh my god, that half health him.
God.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, Ezreal is a champion. Ezreal is a champion. That's all I have to say about that. But anyways, it kind of feels like one of those games where, as Peace, you don't really feel confident in taking any fights, so you don't take any fights, and slowly but surely these small incremental leads build up into, all of a sudden, 2 inhibitors are gone. And we've got Baron buff minions pushing towards our Nexus towers. Pentanet looking like they're in full swing. Be happy to take those 2 inhibs, but do they want a little bit more here? Are they even going to just look for the end? No, they'll back off.
Just crashing
Probably
the
the percentage
waves.
play.
Yeah, just being efficient. Appy on the flank, hunting
Ooh.
for Praetors.
Hang on, never mind. The Rise ultimate coming through. Teleports all 5 members forward. Appy was there already. And they get rid of Praetor. Finally, a bit of success. Something to get excited about for Peace. It won't get them back in the game, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
I mean, what's the lesson here? It is recall together. Jordan, if you're not recalling together, you're opening yourself up to a risk, and they are made to suffer for that one, right? The punish comes across. That's nice from Peace. It isn't going to do a lot to stem the 6,000 and growing gold advantage that PGG have, but they'll take the kill. They'll take the money. You know, an extra kill into the hands of Appy is a big deal. You know, I think we are at a point where Ornn really cannot contend with him at all. The Warmog's build is definitely not designed for side lane pressure. So if we were to give them anything, this Camille can handle the 1v1. I just don't think that the rest of the team can handle the rest of the PGG team.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the 400 gold shutdown that went the way of Appy that'll help out. It's got the Tiamat completed behind the Divine Sunderer now as well. But...
Jeez, this is going to be a slow blue buff.
No mana for Tally. Not a lot, at least.
Oh.
I don't know, he might just have to give this up and actually walk back up into base, otherwise they're going to lose the base.
That's just the saddest thing. The blue buff wins this round. It's 1-0 to the blue buff.
Yep. Well, I mean, in the meanwhile, Appy's down in the bot lane, does have teleport available, but not really pulling a whole lot of pressure, unfortunately, for Peace. And it's going to be a while before he does. They'll try and defend here. Peace, Tally already getting chunked down. True Shot Barrage does miss. And the teleport coming through from Appy forces Pentanet away. Here comes Parbu back for the re-engage. Crowstorm also not quite landing. Call of the Forge God also being thrown in by Pentanet. So a lot of cooldowns used for not a whole lot of gain. But in essence, they do get the teleport from Appy. And I think, end of the day, that is still a small win for Pentanet.
I mean, one of the most useless Drakes in this game is going to be available in 40 seconds. You've got a chance for Peace to threaten a soul point, but PGG, again, like, they lose health on Biopanther, and it doesn't matter because he has Warmog. So as long as he survives there, he was going to regenerate. And as they were disengaging, you've got the Warmogs in effect, getting some health back. Parbu just chucks out a Crowstorm to say g'day. And Biopanther, in solidarity with his jungler, decides that the Call of the Forge God was the play. There's really not more to say beyond that. They
Hey, if you're ulting, I'm ulting.
We can confirm that their R buttons are in fact bound and working for the next time.
He's just going to grapple back to safety. But we're back where we started, really, for Peace. Suppose there's a little bit less time on the inhibitors to come back up, but they've got to look to try and defend. There's a decent hook from Zingy, but can he go off the back of it? Well, he gets the flay onto Parbu, but there's really not that much of a follow-up, unfortunately, for Peace. To be fair, there was also a Zhonya's available for Parbu, so not the end of the world if that
They want to force.
gets used.
They want to force real bad. You can see that you've got Viego in a side lane. They're picking their battle now.
Well, here goes Appy. And that is maybe not the champion that you want to be ulting on if you're a Camille. Right on top of Biopanther. 0 damage done, it feels like, right now by Peace. They're inside of the Lamp's Respite, but it is delaying the inevitable. I think we all know the way this one's going. And that is going to be the end of the tower. Not just that, but the inhibitor down as well for Pentanet. And Peace are scurrying back away underneath their fountain, trying desperately to get some HP back so that they can take the fight to Pentanet. But is there even an avenue into this game for Peace? Can they find anything? It has to surely come from maybe Tally with a flash forward, Everfrost? Nothing. You know, they're trying everything. Death Sentence doesn't connect. And Peace, try as they might, they cannot find a fight that is favorable.
Yeah, but PGG basically just walk through the front door and take the inhibitor in their face. And while that was a nice attempt from Peace, it felt like a last-ditch effort as well. Because now you've got the double supers that can threaten pretty soon. Oh, the mid inhibitor does respawn, so they have an avenue of entry here to this Baron.
Yeah.
Teleports as well, they are committed.
Pentanet is not. Panther's just standing there tanking the Baron and looking pretty healthy in the meanwhile. Jaeon is clearing out the mid wave. So we don't have the full force of Peace. contesting the Baron just yet. The True Shot Barrage does a little bit of poke damage, bit of chip damage. Chaz keeping them busy. The very slow Baron take here from Penta. I'm not sure that they really want to even be doing it.
Painful, but an Ornn ultimate could hit 5 people here. It's just that Pabu's not in the area for a Fiddlesticks ult. Chaz, at risk here.
Well, they're going to go for the 50-50. It will end up going into the hands of Pabu, and he'll Crow Storm over the wall. That is going to be that. Peace cannot contest with the damage that is being put down right now by Pentanet. In the end, they do manage to get a couple of trades back, but you've still got 2 players alive for Pentanet. They've got Baron, they've got a super creep wave pushing into the base, and surely enough time to finish the game here for Pentanet.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the LCO. That's Peace's bottom lane, just suffering at the hands of an insanely in-form Praedyth and Decoy. The Nexus sure to fall here, and the expected result does happen today. Pretty stylish, I will say classy performance from PGG overall. Never really looked like losing, never looked like throwing this one away at all. And a pretty easy victory for them in the end.
Well, Praedyth, he wanted more, didn't he? He wanted to get at least 7-1-1, but Zingy goes golden, survives as the Nexus does fall. Pentanet will pick up their 12th win of the split. And if I'm not wrong, that's 8 in a row for Pentanet as well, as they continue to go from strength to strength to strength. Unless we're talking about hairstyles, but that's a bit of an aside anyway, Rusty. And look, to be fair, I mean, you can't really... I don't think you can be too negative about Peace, right? They came in with a couple of different players in their roster. We've never seen Cheon and Ziggy down in the bot lane for them. Lisa comes back into jungle after having played only support this split and really hasn't had a whole lot of match time, to be fair. Appy back up into the top lane. There was never really a whole lot to say for Peace. It was kind of a case of, well, you know, we'll give it our best shot, but there's nothing to lose. And so we'll hope to see Peace back and stronger than ever when we do see those core players returning. But we do have Mac returning as well. Be interesting to hear your thoughts. How'd you like that one, Mac? You a Fiddlesticks fan?
Well, it was a long, drawn-out game. You know, the pause to start things off obviously slowed it down, but then also 9 kills at almost 30 minutes in before then the festivities started to begin, and it was like, you know, fight for your life sort of situation. Unfortunately, it didn't go amazingly well for Peace. Yes, there was an opportunity, and if they did manage to win that Baron flip, you could have seen that fight going completely the other way. However, didn't work out for them. You know, Pentanet just at the end a little bit too strong after everything else happened. For the rest of the game, look, moments of brilliance coming out there from Peace, but of course, look, first time that this roster's played together in a official game. I thought it looked pretty good, honestly.
I mean, there was a couple of signs of life from Peace. I think that their bottom lane showed, as spoken about in the coach interview, they're just young mechanical players, right? And they definitely had the mechanics. It's just that push comes to shove, you make a single mistake, and PGG will punish you for the rest of the game. And that really is just what it came down to. And I think that was true across the board here, really. PGG are just the better team in this matchup, and the better team did win. No upsets to be seen.
Yeah, I just think there's no real surprises. You know, coming into the game after seeing the crazy roster shuffle, you didn't have high expectations for Peace, so it's not really a surprise that we're here. Now, it was almost a 10k gold lead. Pentanet, 15, 5, and 25 assists. So everyone really getting around those kills with the assists as well. Good to see the team play coming in there. Obviously, not really worrying too much about the Dragons there. Didn't really have to, just more interested in finishing the game. And look, Praedyth as well on the Ezreal. It feels like he hates this champion, yet he has played it a couple of times now in the LCO. Maybe just because it's open and it's sort of a sin if you don't go it because of how much damage can be dished out by this champ. So who knows? What's your thoughts on that, Rusty?
I wasn't listening back. I was typing about the player that delivered, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's better that we're honest than I make something up in response, don't you think?
I would love to have heard what you were going to say if you tried to beat around the bush. Something like, oh yeah, completely agree. Now, and then repeat the same thing I just said.
On. Yeah,
that'd be lovely. That'd be lovely. Anyway, let's bring Nat back into the conversation. I believe she has one of the winners, one of the 5 winners down on the side lane there. So who do you have for the post-match, Nat?
I do. I'm going to be joined by Pabu, and I want to say congratulations. But also, before we get too far into the questions about the game, I want to ask about the hair. It looks so good, man. But what was the driving force for the change?
I mean, there's nothing in particular, but I've always kind of wanted to do it. I've been worried about, like, I don't know, maybe I had like a weird skull or something. So I was like, nah, I don't want to show it off, you know, like insecure about my hairline, whatever. But nah, I've always wanted to do it. And also my girlfriend is like learning to cut my hair, so like you might as well get some more experience and then also just go to a hairstyle that I wanted to do. And you know, it's me, so like I can't do it without a bit of flair.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just shaving the hair off wouldn't be enough. You had to make it pink too. Well, look, tell your girlfriend she did an absolutely amazing job. It looks great. But going back to the game, I want to hear your thoughts about the draft and also the Fiddlestick pick.
I mean, it's a fairly standard PGG draft, right? Like they give us like a winning bot matchup by slamming a Philios Thresh early. Most teams are too insecure to give us a Philios Thresh, so they always have to pick it, or they like, if we get it, we win the game, and if they play it, we also win the game. So I guess teams are in a bit of a pickle, but Fiddlesticks is always just kind of this like, he punishes short range and long range champions as well, but basically anything that's not super tanky, he finds it hard to play into Fiddlesticks. For example, Ryze in teamfights is just going to get like feared, Kindra's going to get feared, the Philios is going to get feared. It's like, it combos really well with a lot of the AD mid champions because my threat on mid is so large and I can like kind of punish them for such a long distance, and it teamfights really well and scales really well. So it's one of the last remaining AP junglers. All of them are kind of getting slowly nerfed, like Dyne is getting nerfed next patch, so it's going to be, if teams don't start playing Fiddlesticks, I'd be extremely surprised. He's really good at the moment for sure.
Yeah, he did a lot during those team fights that you were saying. But there surprisingly weren't a lot of deaths in comparison to games that we've seen you guys play against Peace in the past. Do you think that's a draft thing, or did you change a little bit of your game style because you were up against a different roster?
I mean, we didn't opt into any specific styles because of the roster they were playing. I think we're just getting better as time goes on, and a lot of the errors that we're making in the early game don't pop up, and we're having like pretty clean games now. So I think everyone's just kind of I guess more in tune with each other. Our understanding of like what we're doing is better, and I don't know, we're all just playing really well, so it kind of goes that way. Like the game has just exploded really early on from like a few things, and yeah, I don't know, it just translates really easily because they're super willing to give up everything, so it's a very easy game for us to play.
Yeah, well, a combination with that, and like you said, you guys are playing absolutely outstanding. Got you the win tonight, so congratulations again, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Nat.
There you have it. Always good to hear from the Pink Man himself. So, are we good to call him Pubby Pinkman? Is that like a thing we can do, or is that kind of like...
I mean, the org called him Pinkboo22, so I think we probably run with what his org has given him. Also, when is he going to change the eyebrows? That's my question.
Ooh.
What
you
is
got to commit, don't you?
Yeah, when do you change eyebrows when you change your hair color? Like, is that a common thing, or is it rare that eyebrows change with it?
I don't think you do. I've seen lots of shows and all the like fashion-y guys that do the short hair with the dye and then they keep the black eyebrows or whatever color the natural eyebrows are, just because it's a look, man. It's a look.
Yeah.
Now,
Someone
someone
else
else...
up darkening it. Sorry.
No worries. Fashion Nat over there, just chiming in quickly. Now, we do have the DoorDash player that delivered, and I believe it's no surprise to anyone that, of course, today it was PreyDiff down in that bot lane, doing such a damn good job. 6-1-1, 58% kill participation, almost 50% damage share as well. That's not only huge, but also PreyDiff is now on track to have the perfect week because he's only got 2 games, makes it that little bit easier, so it's not going to be a super week with players that delivered. However, he's got 1 more game and he could get it there over tomorrow as well. Now, Rusty, a couple of numbers here. You like them?
I do like the damage share number quite a lot, actually. Pretty significant. And one thing I would say is this probably could have went to anyone on the team. It was just a solid game. Maybe not by Panther and Chaz because they didn't have to do a lot. They had the easiest win of their lives. It's a great time being a solo laner when everything just goes correctly. But PreyDiff and Decoy playing very well in pub, protecting them most of the game was really what we saw.
Can't really complain about that. Jordan, any take on PreyDiff? And Nat, do you think that he's going to be able to get both the players that delivered this week?
Who do you want to go first?
You want to go first? I said your name first, sir. That is how the game works.
Look, I mean, I think when you're versing an Ezreal and you see him arcane shifting at you as opposed to away from you, that really tells the whole story of how the game is going. His Qs were hitting like nuclear bombs. That's all I really have to say about that. It was a good game played by PreyDiff. Looked pretty easy. Looked like he wanted to fight. No one wanted to fight him, which is fair enough.
Yeah, and I definitely do think it is possible for PreyDiff, but bot lane as a whole is looking good, so maybe it might end up going to Decoy. You know, they have high praise for him over there at PGG, so he's going to have to be fighting for this one, but definitely possible.
Well, I guess we'll see after today. However, we've got another couple of games today, so we're not going to close the shop just yet, but we are going to go to a short break. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go too far. It's Direwolves and Gravitas just after the break. Enjoy Saturday by 21 Pilots.
Next on to Zingy, but doesn't hit too poorly. Here comes Pabu. Instantly lands Respite to try and keep Peace alive. Hasn't done a great job of that though, because we've already seen 2 falling.
Just crashing
Probably
the
the percentage
waves.
played.
Yeah, just being efficient. Appy on the flank, hunting
Ooh.
for Praetors.
Hang on, never mind. The Rise Ultimate coming through. Teleports all 5 members forward. Appy was there already.
The Pabu's not in the area for a Fiddlesticks ult. Chaz, at risk here.
Well, they're going to go for the 50-50. It will end up